Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, developed by Polish developer CI Games, is a military shooter set in a fictional conflict in the state of Georgia. Not the U.S. state of Georgia, the country Georgia. You play as protagonist John North, who is a super generic military hero in the mold of Chris Kyle, the American Sniper of the American Sniper movie. It's a decent game. We'll just get that right out of the way. It's fun in its core essence. When you're out on a mission, tagging enemies with your drone or your scope, taking them out. The sniping itself is pretty in-depth. You have to adjust for distance. You have a lot of elements to consider as you snipe. You can also go in with close combat, melee, pistol. You have silencers on all your weapons, and these decay. You have to repair them. The sort of core premise of the missions of taking out enemies, assassinating targets, this all works pretty well. Where the game starts to lose me is its open world design and story. The story itself feels extremely generic so far. The acting is often a little phoned in. The dialogue is hackneyed. The translation of in-game characters can be pretty funny. There's a lot of translation shortcomings here. Let's look at John North. His character bio reads, John North is a loyal soldier. He believes in classical American way of life and strongly identifies with the notion of America being the world police. As a Marine and a sniper, he learned to trust his own instincts in distinguishing good and evil and never hesitates to state his mind to others. Natural leader with craving for control. So, yeah, I mean, he believes in classical American way of life. It's just, it reads like this was written by a Polish developer and translated by someone who was not terribly solid on the English language. And that's fine. I would do worse translating Polish. I don't speak Polish. I remember one time I was in Costa Rica and drinking at this bar at a hostel that we were staying at, and I got into a big debate with a Polish guy about America and our role in the world. He didn't speak hardly 20 words of English, and I didn't speak 2 in Polish. So the two of us trying to argue about America, world police, was interesting. It was a drunken mess. Anyways, back to Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, which is sort of an awkward title, and I keep wanting to say Sniper Elite, but that's a different series. So here's a story from my gameplay. I went on a side mission where I had to steal fuel, a truck loaded with fuel, from the bad guys to give to the good guys. And I'm honestly not too clear on what makes one good one and the other bad. I feel sort of like maybe we shouldn't be in Georgia as Americans in the first place. Haven't we learned our lessons? Anyways, I went to the outpost where this fuel truck was. I tagged the enemies using my drone. I found a perch that didn't work out so well, so I found another perch and a little bit lower and closer down with better angles. Took out a couple bad guys, then they noticed me. I had to take the others out in more close combat fight. It was all pretty fun. I don't know if I handled it all that well, but this was still early on and I was still getting used to all the mechanics. The truck was locked, so I had to turn on my Witcher senses. That's what I call them. Basically same thing that you have in Horizon Zero Dawn or The Witcher 3, where you click a button and you can suddenly see things that are not visible to the naked eye. So, using my Witcher senses, I tracked down the place where the driver was staying, found the keys, got the truck, and zoomed over to the good guy NPC. I give him the truck, and he rewards me with experience and resources. And then I walk a few steps away, listening to a chick on the radio tell me what to do next, when I hear the sound of the truck roaring behind me. And when I turn around, I'm mowed over. Killed by this same NPC I just finished this mission for. Now, this was not intentional or part of the story. This just speaks entirely to how the game handles its AI, which is not always the brightest. So yeah, I was taken out by a truck. I managed to do this whole mission without dying. I killed all these bad guys. And then I was, driven down like a dog in the road. Beyond this, the sort of flat story, bad translation, there are a number of bugs. The open world itself is, so far at least, not extremely interesting. The first bad guy checkpoint I ran into, I didn't realize was coming, and I got shot to death. The second time I came upon an enemy checkpoint, I snuck in all carefully, crouching and going through the bushes. And, at first I'd sent my drone in and I couldn't see anybody, so I assumed they were all inside. But I went inside and I searched every room, and it turns out there was not a single enemy at this entire checkpoint. I don't know what they were doing. I honestly, I wonder where those soldiers were. Did they just, did they go to a brothel? Were they, out taking a leak in the woods? I just don't know. But I spent all that time sneaking around basically for nothing. So would I recommend Sniper Ghost Warrior 3? I mean, I haven't finished the game yet. I can only go off the few hours I've played. But so far, I'd say, get it on a sale. If you really like sniper games, there's a lot to love about the core mechanic. But is it worth full price? No. This is a game that probably shouldn't have been a big open world game. I would say from these sort of mid-tier developer publishers that are making, they're trying to make AAA games, but not on a AAA budget. And that's very difficult. So, scale it back. We don't always need huge open worlds. We don't always need dozens of hours of filler, to keep us busy. I would rather have, well-crafted missions and have just even more generic protagonist. I mean, think of, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. You play as a couple different soldiers in that game, but those soldiers are not particularly fleshed out. They don't have a deep backstory. They don't have a brother that's been kidnapped. They just go and do their missions. And that's what I'd like to see more of in games like this. We don't need, if you're not going to have a great story, then just don't give us much of a story at all. Give us missions and have them be interesting, and have the story, told more in a more emergent narrative. The story is the game itself sometimes, You don't need a lot. You can do a lot with a little. And I'd rather see these games focused and more tight. If the budget doesn't allow you to be the next big Far Cry or the next Call of Duty, then focus on your strengths. Give us these good missions where we have challenges and see where that goes. Anyways, so I would wait for a sale. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thanks for watching. Peace.